If you are a random stranger who just happened to stumble upon this video, find a different video, I'm going to go kind of quickly. If you're one of my students, welcome. In the previous video, we talked about how when you have a sum of functions, the derivative of a sum is just the sum of the derivatives. I just do derivative of each part and add it up. X cubed, the derivative is 3x squared, plus sine, the derivative is cosine. What doesn't work, and you need to be very careful not to do it, is derivative of a product. You can't just do derivative of x cubed times derivative of sine. It does not work like that. There's a rule for how you do derivative of a product of functions. It is called the product rule. The product rule states that the derivative of the product of two functions, f times g, is going to be f times g prime plus g times f prime. Sometimes they'll be written in the other order. Sometimes, multiplication is associative, addition is not associative. Oh my goodness. Multiplication commutes, addition commutes. I could change up the order I write this. You understand that. So an example of this, I think I have an example hidden here. Oh, look at that. So sneaky. Is this. I have x cubed, I have sine. I know the derivative of either by itself. The derivative of the product, I can figure out using the product rule. I do the first thing, x cubed in this case is my f. I do the first thing times the derivative of the second thing. So derivative of sine is cosine, plus the second thing, my sine of x, times the derivative of f, of the first thing. So derivative of x cubed is 3x squared. And I'll say it like that. Sometimes when I'm doing product rule to kind of help myself, I'll say it's first times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first. We'll try that again. E to the x cosine of x. To do the derivative of this, I look at my two functions, and the derivative comes out to the first thing times the derivative of the second thing, derivative of cosine is negative sine, plus the second thing times derivative of the first. And again, sometimes I'll write it in a different order. Sometimes maybe I'll do first times derivative of the second, plus derivative of the first times keep the second the same. It's all the same, whatever. Just like there's one for a product, there's also a rule for a quotient. If you have a function divided by a function, what to do. This one is a little more complicated, and unlike e to the x in that first video, I'm not making that up. If I have a quotient of functions, it comes out to this, and a little bit of this, with a piece of this, some of this. So far that looks kind of like product rule with a minus. And then the bottom is just g of x squared. The way that you can remember this, the way that you'll hear not just me, other calculus teachers do this, is call this first thing, the thing on top, it's high in the fraction. The thing on the bottom is low down. This is the high part of the fraction, the low part of the fraction. The derivative of a quotient is low d high meaning derivative of high, minus high d low all over low squared, or low. So as you do quotient rule, as I do it, you'll hear me say low d high minus high d low over low squared. Some calculus teachers will say over low. So, applying that, I have it written here just in case we need it. I don't know, maybe I'll forget it. So I wrote it there to remind myself. Derivative of this quotient. On the numerator, I know the derivative of that. Denominator, I know the derivative of that. Derivative of the quotient is going to be low d high, derivative of sine is cosine, minus high d low all over low squared. Low squared. The things I say d, I'm talking about derivative. Without it, I'm just talking about the numerator denominator. Low, d high, minus high, d low, over low squared. I'll do one more. This one looks like a product rule. Why'd I put a product rule right after learning quotient rule? I don't know. Too late now. It's committed to the computer's memory. The derivative of this, I'm going to do product rule. I'll do first times derivative of the second, which for now I'm just going to leave blank because that's going to be a thing. First times derivative of the second plus, product rule is a plus. First times derivative of the second plus second thing times derivative of the first, negative sign. And I left this blank because first times derivative of second, derivative of this, I'm going to have to come back to that. I want to kind of write it out and then I come back to it. So I just need to fill in derivative of this. Derivative of this is going to be derivative of the e to the x minus the derivative of this part. That's derivative of x to the negative 1/2. And so once it's written like that, I realize, okay, derivative of that is going to be negative 1/2 x to the negative 3/2. That's all inside the parentheses. So writing that a little nicer, I end up with cosine of x e to the x plus 1 over 2 x to the 3/2. I could write square root of x cubed or something like that, but who needs it? E to the x minus this. And I'm going to write sine and change this to a minus sign. I think that's my last slide. All right, wonderful. You now know product rule and quotient rule, and you are ready for anything that calculus can throw at you.